Let's learn about configuring static routes. In this lesson, we will use this network diagram. In this network, IT Life Skills main and IT Life Skills R2 have been pre-configured. Therefore, we only need to configure the IT Life Skills R1 router. On the router IT Life Skills R1, we need to configure the IP addresses on all the interfaces of the router. After that, we will configure a static route to the subnet 10.0.2.0/24 and send the traffic via the interface F01. Then we talk about the static route configuration requirement, and after that we will verify the configuration on IT Life Skills R2, and finally we verify the connectivity from PC1 to PC21 and then PC22. Let's get started with configuring the IP addresses on all the interfaces of the router. To configure IP address on an interface of a router, we need to go to the configuration mode and issue the command interface, and then we specify the interface that we want to configure the IP address and hit enter. It will bring us into the interface configuration mode. We need to issue the command IP address, and then we specify the IP address and the subnet mask, then hit enter. The default status of an interface on a router is shut down. To enable it, we need to issue the command no shut, then hit enter. Let's do it on IT Life Skills Router 1. First, we need to go to the configuration mode and then go to the interface F00 and issue the command IP address 10.0.1.1, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and hit enter and issue the command no shut. And from here we can go to the other interface, and in this case it is add to 1 and issue the command IP address and specify the IP address is 10.0.5 and the subnet mask 255.255.255.252 and hit enter and issue the command no shut. Similarly, we can configure for the interface F01, and we just need to change the IP address to 10.0.0.1 and hit enter and then issue the command no shut, and we X out of it and write mem, and that's it. We have just configured all the IP addresses on all the interfaces of the router IT Life Skills Router 1. To view the IP address information that we configure on a router, at the router privilege mode, we need to issue the command show IP interface brief and hit enter. Let's do it on IT Life Skills Router 1. Here we are at the privilege mode. We need to issue the command show IP interface brief and then hit enter. As you can see, we configure the IP addresses for the fast Ethernet 00, and the IP address is 10.0.1.1, and the interface F01 and the IP address is 10.0.0.1, and also the serial interface S21 and the IP address is 10.0.0.5, and the status is up and the protocol is up, so we are good to go. To configure a static route on a router, at the router configuration mode, we issue the command IP route, then we specify the network ID and then the subnet mask. Then we can either specify the outgoing interface or the next hop IP address, or we can specify both outgoing interface and the next hop IP address. For the completeness, usually I specify both outgoing interface and the next hop IP address, then hit enter. Let's do it on IT Life Skills Router 1. Here we are at the privilege mode. We need to go into the configuration mode and issue the command IP route 10.0.2.0, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and as you can see, we can specify the outgoing interface, and in this case the outgoing interface is the F01, and from here technically we can hit enter and it is done with the static route configuration. However, for the completeness, I will want to enter the next hop IP address, and in this case the next hop IP address is 10.0.0.2, then hit enter, and we X out is and remem, and thus is we've done with the static route configuration. To show the routing table of a router at the router privilege mode, we need to issue the command show IP route, then hit enter. Let's do it on IT Life Skill Router 1. Here we are at the privilege mode. We need to issue the command show IP route, then hit enter. As you can see, the static route that we have just configured show up in the routing table of the router 1, and this route entry instructs the IT Life Skills Router 1 that to send the IP packet to the destination subnet 10.0.2.0/24, it have to encapsulate the IP packet into an Ethernet frame and send it via the outgoing interface fast Ethernet 01 toward the next hop IP address 10.0.0.2. As you may also notice, the connected routes automatically appear in the routing table without any configuration over here. Please note that a static route to each subnet must be configured for each connection on each router. For example, for the traffic from PC1 to PC21, to use the Ethernet connection, router IT Life Skill R1 must have a route entry to the subnet 10.0.2.0/24 that send the traffic out of the interface F01. To use a serial connection, it must also have a route entry to the same subnet that send the traffic out of the interface S21. For the return traffic from PC21 to PC1, to use a Ethernet connection, router IT Life Skill R2 must have a route entry to the subnet 10.0.1.0/24 that sends the traffic out of the interface F01. To use a serial connection, it must also have a route entry to the same subnet that sends the traffic out of the interface S21. Let's verify the configuration on IT Life Skills R2 to confirm what we just said in the previous line. First of all, we need to verify the IP configuration by using the command show IP interface brief, then hit enter. Then we need to verify the routing table by using the command show IP route, then hit enter. Finally, we will verify the static route configuration by using the command show run, and then we filter for the session IP route, then hit enter. Let's do it on IT Life Skills R2. First of all, we will verify the IP configuration by using the command show IP interface brief. Here are the IP addresses configured on the interfaces of the router, and their status are up and their protocol status are up. Everything looks good. Now we need to verify the routing table by using the command show IP route, then hit enter. As you can see, the connected routes are the routes connected to the interfaces of the router, and they show up automatically in the routing table. We also see that there's a static route over here, and this route instructs the router IT Life Skills R2 to forward the traffic to the destination subnet 10.0.1.0/24 via the outgoing interface F01 toward the next hop IP address 10.0.0.1. Now let's verify the static route configuration by using the command show run, and then we filter for the section IP route, then hit enter. As you can see, there's a two static route configured on this router. The first one over here is installed into the routing table, and the second one here is not installed into the routing table. The reason is that this route has the administrative distance of 254, so it only installed into the routing table when the Ethernet connection here is down for any reason. For the completeness, let's verify the connectivity on PC1 by using the command ping, and then we provide the destination IP address, then hit enter. First, we will verify the connectivity between PC1 and PC21. Ping 10.0.2.21, then hit enter. The reason we see the timeout over here is because PC1 didn't have the cache information for the MAC address of the IP 10.0.2.21. Therefore, it had to send the APP request to find the MAC address of the IP 10.0.2.21, which actually the MAC address of the router IT Life Skills R1. Now let's verify the connectivity between PC1 and PC22. Everything looks good. Let's read the keynotes for this lesson. This is the end of this lesson. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching.